I want to go over a couple of little pieces of, I like to call it housekeeping, just so we're all on the same page. Everybody's got one of these. This little card has all the different ways you can get a hold of me if you got any questions after the presentation. It also has a QR code, or if you're not tech savvy and don't even know what a QR code is, it's got a web address there. That is going to take you to a page specifically for the Board of Realtors that's going to allow you all the notes you're going to need from today's presentation. It'll go over and help you walk through each of the 5 takeaways that we're going to be working on today. So you'll have access to that information as long as you need it, and that'll also give you another place where you can get a hold of me if you got any questions. Always happy to answer questions. Presentation, SEO is dead. What's next? We're going to talk about 5 things you can do right now to improve your online image. The one thing we're not going to talk about is what's called black hat techniques. So at this point in time, I'm going to change the hat, get rid of the black hat. Everything we do is going to be above board. We're going to be talking about things you can do to improve your online image without tarnishing it at all. I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of web search. Web search goes back quite a while, 1993, and over the years it's kind of been this ever-growing takeover by one particular company. Let's talk about why that happened. 1993, search engines begin. 2 companies started that year, W3 Catalog and Ally Web. Both of those companies are now inactive. But they were the first 2 companies that ever did anything that we could call web search. 1994, a company comes along called Go.com. They ended up getting bought up by a company that we still do business with today, or many people do, and that is Yahoo. So they became a part of Yahoo later on. 1995, a couple of different things happen. Alta Vista starts and Yahoo start. Also in 1995, Bill Gates wrote a book, and in it he talked about how the next wave of the computer world was going to be all about search. And interestingly enough, he also talked about how Microsoft was currently working on advancements that were going to take over the search world, something that didn't actually happen as he predicted in that book. But 1996, Ask Jeeves. We all remember Ask Jeeves. That's where we all went to ask any question that we wanted to for a long time. 1997, nothing happened. Literally, nothing happened in the search world at all. In 1998, that was it. The end of the world as we know it. 2 major things happened that year. MSN finally made good on the promises of Bill Gates and came out with the butterfly. Remember, I was sitting in New York City shortly after the butterfly came out and the whole MSN push started. I'm sitting on the steps of the library there in New York City, pretty famous place. I'm taking in the experience. All these really kind of trendy, cool people are standing around and sitting around, and in comes this guy dressed in leotards with big wings on the back of him, handing out MSN flyers. I didn't have any idea what search was. I didn't even at that point in time have a internet connection at my house. So I was kind of baffled by this whole thing, but I definitely remember that. The smaller thing that happened quite quietly and in the background, 2 guys, real smart guys, came up with something they called PageRank. And here's why it was called PageRank. One of the guys is Larry Page. The other guy is Sergey Brin. They got together. They invented a technology that allowed them to search far more effectively than anybody else. And what it was based on was the way websites were interlinked between them. And they called it PageRank largely because Larry Page was last name Page. We now call web pages pages, and we think because they're like pages, but they're not. You think about them. If it wasn't for Larry Page, we'd probably call them scrolls. So we call web pages pages because Larry Page invented PageRank, and everything that came after in search followed PageRank. Larry Page and Sergey Brin are the two guys that started Google, and that's what took off. This is basically how PageRank works. Basically, if your site is really big and you're pointing at another site, that makes that site bigger and more important. If your site's really small and you're pointing at another site, but there's lots of small sites pointing at that site, that makes that site bigger. That's the basics of PageRank, and that's how all search was done up until about 2011, when Google realized that there were a lot of people spamming this. They came out with two, one in 2012 and one in 2011, two updates to PageRank called Panda, and the second one was called Penguin. And those two changed a little bit more how we do our internet searching and what results come back to us when we pull an internet search.